Hello and welcome once again to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers. We're here each week talking about interesting ideas, thought processes, and meeting interesting people.
We are indeed, and by the way, welcome back.
Thank you.
We missed you, and we're really glad you're back joining us.
Obviously came off the air during the most critical parts of the campaign, but back joining you, and this is show 903. I think we got another 900 shows in us.
We do indeed, and 903 is going to be a very good one because we have a wonderful guest, Ken Levit, the executive director of the George Kaiser Family Foundation. He's coming back to us for another appearance. We've had Ken on a number of times before, but he's got a lot to talk about the foundation and also about Tulsa.
And the gathering place. We'll get all caught up with Ken Levit and the George Kaiser Foundation when we return on The Verdict.
I went to college at the University of San Diego. I went to medical school at Yale School of Medicine. I did my internship at Harvard and then my residency at Columbia in New York City. My name is Whitney Tolpenrud. I'm a dermatologist and I am Chickasaw. I always knew that somehow I would figure out a way to give back to my tribe, to say thank you. So I've been coming to the hospital now for about a year. I come for 2 days consecutively every other month. I can't describe to you the level of satisfaction and humility that it's been able to provide to my life. And that is just so energizing and reminds me why I went into this to begin with.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at profilesofanation.com.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
It's really a pleasure to welcome back to The Verdict Ken Levit, who's been on 3 other times. This is his 4th appearance. Ken and I practiced law together at Crow and Dunleavy for several years. Prior to that time, he did his undergraduate work at Brown University, did his law work at Yale Law School, had a brief couple of year stint with the Central Intelligence Agency. He also, after that, came back to become president of the University of Oklahoma in Tulsa, then shifted from that position to, in 2006, his position with the George Kaiser Family Foundation, and has been there now approximately 12 years. Ken, welcome back. Sure good to see you.
Likely. Great to be with
It's
you
always
guys.
fun with you.
I remember learning from you at the law firm.
Well,
and I'm still holding many of those lessons with me.
Well, the statute of limitations probably run by that time.
Obviously a big week for the George Kaiser Family Foundation with the opening of the gathering place. So thank you for coming on in such a busy time. But let's talk about the general focus and the mission of the foundation itself. The park aside, talk about the broader scope.
Thank you. I mean, the overall ambition of the foundation is to create pathways to economic opportunity and mobility. And I think our founder, George Kaiser, really asked himself the question when establishing the foundation, what's the highest moral purpose I can put these resources to? And really, after analysis and examination of our core American ideals, it's to create a framework for opportunity for all children in our country and in our community, and in starting in a place like Tulsa, Oklahoma, makes the most sense to start that work. If you think about our American concept, really the most core notion is that every child has an opportunity to succeed, whether the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Gettysburg Address. There's nothing more American than that. And that's what we're really focused on. How best to create opportunity for our community and for the children of our community, especially those who are born with not a lot of resources.
Well, Ken, I know that you at any one time have a lot of projects ongoing and more perhaps on the drawing board that are just in the formative stages. Can you kind of outline what you're doing now and what you're looking to do in general terms? We'll get to the specifics about it later.
working off the core idea of creating economic opportunity, we've really focused greatly on early child education. And Oklahoma is a great place to be working in the field of early child education because Oklahoma has been a leader in that for almost 20 years with its investment in pre-kindergarten and other early childhood programs. The foundation has been very energetic around early child education in the first 3 years of life. So much brain development takes place there, so much emotional and brain development takes place in the very earliest years, really at birth and over the first few weeks, months of life. So whether it's in center-based early child education like EduCare, which features prominently in Oklahoma City and in Tulsa, or in just promulgating across the community the values of early childhood development through moms and pediatricians and churches across our community, we've really focused a lot on early childhood learning as the best pathway for development. Along with those themes and values, we've really been focusing greatly in the recent year on our Birth to 8 strategy for Tulsa, which is really trying to touch every child and reach every child born in Tulsa County from a low-income circumstance at around the time of the mom's pregnancy, so reaching out to the mother, and then interacting with that family for 8 years of life in a way to set them up best for success.
So that one is not just education oriented.
It's really,
It's broader.
it's comprehensive, and it tries to knit together a broad number of initiatives that can reach a family, whether it's in healthcare, social services, education, but creating as much stability and support around a young child in those very formative years. And that's a project that's in its early stages, but developing, and one of our most ambitious projects, really. Along those lines, we've also focused on a handful of really difficult problems that relate also to early childhood development, and that's our high rate of female incarceration, and we're actually seeing a great deal of progress on that front in Tulsa at least, and also on reducing the rate of teen pregnancy. Both teen pregnancy and female incarceration rates are extremely high in Oklahoma, and we think we've found some pretty key strategies to reduce those rates, and we're excited about the progress we've seen on those fronts.
As a businessman, George Kaiser had to be interested in his rate of return. What's his return on an investment, whether he was in the banking business or the oil and gas business or all the other activities that he pursued. As a philanthropist, is he also focused on the return on investment? And if so, how do you measure it and how do you report back?
Yeah, I think that's a core notion in our work. What yields the most return for a dollar invested? I mean, on the other hand, you have certain moral imperatives that you have to reach out and deal with a problem, even if it's wildly expensive. I think our rate of female incarceration, in a way, is one of those issues.
Perfect example.
Now, on the other hand, in a case like that, doing the right moral thing to reduce our rate of female incarceration and keeping people out of prison and ruining their lives when they've only had an addiction problem, it's not only the morally right thing to do, but there's an enormous financial return because the cost to a family of a mom's incarceration is immense and multi-generational. So we try to really look at both what the moral issue is that we're confronting, but also what is the cost and the return on that. And really it's often a no-brainer when you look at the return on investment. Preventing a teen pregnancy, an unintended teen pregnancy, there's an enormous benefit to society and enormous return on investment. Preventing an unwarranted incarceration of a mom and taking her out of the workforce, having that devastating impact on the child, the cost of the foster care system, no brainer, enormous return on the philanthropic dollar, and on early child education. Now, it's expensive to do high quality early childhood education, but we've also learned it's more expensive not to do it because of the impact on a person's life can be so great by investing early. I also think of the kind of the Warren Buffett notion of the compounded return. If you invest early and can interact with the child early and intervene in the cycle, you are going to have a much outsized return. And quite frankly, there's a number of economic studies, a Nobel Prize-winning economist, James Heckman, that lays out the return on early childhood investment, and it's really, it's better than a bet in, I don't know, the best company in Google. You should do it.
Just recently opened up the Gathering Place for an Oklahoma City audience that might be a lot less informed on what the Gathering Place is, as well as our Tulsa audience who knows a lot about it. Kind of give us an overview of what's just taken place here in Tulsa.
Well, about a decade ago, our team at the foundation and George and our board, we really started to think more deeply about the fact that we felt that Tulsa was in a bit of a funk. We had lost some of our momentum. We kind of looked across the turnpike and also saw Oklahoma City really thriving, a sense of identity and energy and momentum, and we wanted to do something that we thought could restore that for Tulsa. We began to look more at our riverfront. It's a great resource. Oklahoma City's found its own riverfront, and thought about the basic value of bringing a community together. Over the years, we've become increasingly divided, and that's happened across America. But whether it's North Tulsa or South Tulsa, East and West, what could we do to really give our community a shot in the arm? And the notion of a central gathering place, a iconic park alongside the Arkansas River, really came into focus. And you can plan things, but then also you need some good opportunity. And so we were able to buy some land, put together about a mile on the riverfront, and then begin to think about what we would do with this land to create an iconic park. Happened to hire really one of the world's greatest landscape architects, Michael van Valkenburg, after an exhaustive process. We had been trying for a while to figure out what we should do with this land, and then we thought, there are people who do this for a living. This man, this firm, and his colleagues presented us with a magnificent plan about 5 years ago. And we hit the go button on it, and what was amazing, in addition to the masterpiece of the park that these architects designed and that Crossland built, was the community support that came together. Our foundation put in $200 million to this project, which is a strong statement, but we also raised $200 million from our friends and colleagues and foundations and businesses and individuals in Tulsa. And as you know, that's a long-standing point of excellence in Tulsa, the private sector coming together to make something happen. We also had government partnership, city and county, but this was largely the community coming together to say, we've got to change the trajectory of Tulsa. And so the opening of this park, we have high aspirations for what it will do for Tulsa, and have some reason to believe that those aspirations could be met.
Ken Levit is our guest. He's with the George Kaiser Family Foundation. We're talking about the Gathering Place and all of the other well-groomed projects that the Kaiser Family Foundation is involved with. And we'll have more with Ken right after this.
OU Law has a history and heritage that are unparalleled. At the University of Oklahoma College of Law, we empower our students to pursue the career of their dreams. We have the highest U.S. News ranking ever achieved by an Oklahoma law school. We are the first law school in the country to launch a college-wide digital initiative. And this year, our competition teams rank #2 in the nation. OU Law, generations of excellence, limitless possibilities.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. loyal to you.
Welcome back to the Set of the Verdict. We're visiting with Ken Levit. We're learning more about the George Kaiser Family Foundation. We talked about the gathering place in the last segment. Kent, where do you want to go from here?
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the inspiration you get from the leadership of your founder, George Kaiser. I did a little reading prior to the show and found a couple of things that George had written. In one place, he writes that he felt that he had a moral obligation to direct his resources to help repair family inequities. Can you talk about that a little bit and how that impacts your work, his vision?
Sure, and I'm very privileged to work closely with George Kaiser, and our team, I think, feels feels that privilege on a daily basis to hear his expression of what his goals are, and we strive to meet those high values. I mean, to me, it really goes to the fundamental American ideal that every child should have an equal opportunity. And he, George Kaiser, likes to quote a line which is a great line from his colleague Warren Buffett, which is that every child is born equal, and that lasts a handful of seconds before other factors intervene. And many of us have won the ovarian lottery, which is a classic Warren Buffett phrase. We're born to a healthy mother, in an advanced society, in a loving family. And while I think I know that I do, sometimes describe my success to my hard work and my average IQ, I also know that a lot of things really worked in my favor that I had no control over at all. And all of us have an obligation to kind of understand that, recognize how fortune operates in our lives, and to share that good fortune when we've received it with others who might not have had the exact same lucky breaks. And yes, we have a responsibility to use our resources in smart ways, not to waste our money, not to spread it around in ways that don't have an impact, but to go through the thought process of, well, how can we most effectively create opportunities for others who may not have had the same lucky breaks as we have. And I think that idea animates a lot of George Kaiser's philanthropic impetus, and it's clearly reached us who work in the foundation to try to reach that objective. And like in any endeavor that's complicated, sometimes we've hit it on the nose, and many times we've struggled to make it work. And so we're about batting, I'd say, maybe 400 at this point, which isn't bad. But we're learning every day.
Yeah, and George also has a similar quote about no child is responsible for the circumstances of their own birth. You guys have done so much groundbreaking work in this area of early childhood development. I would assume there are others around the country that are studying your work and looking at investing in their own communities. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, it's been fascinating to me, really. When I started the foundation a decade, 12, 13 years ago, this focus on very early childhood education was felt a little bit like a niche. There were others who were doing it. We learned quite a bit from Susie Buffett, Warren Buffett's daughter. The Gates Foundation was doing a little bit in the area, but it was kind of a sidelight. Over the course of this last decade, and really as the brain science has evolved and more people have begun to understand the impact of intervening in the very earliest years and creating a supporting, loving environment for an infant and a toddler, we've just been overwhelmed with expressions of interest, visitors that have come to Tulsa, really some of the most famous philanthropists in the United States have come to see this work. We've been able to host a president, an almost president, 2 speakers of the House, many senators who have come to kind of understand and learn more about our overall early childhood strategy. And I think even in the Oklahoma legislature, for instance, early on in our work, early child education was a bit of it wasn't overwhelmingly controversial, but there was some controversy around it. I think today it's really an emphatic understanding that these are smart investments. Now, always something can be done better. There are always inefficiencies that need to be improved. There are always ways to make a program more effective. But I think these initiatives in the earliest years have been proven to be some of the most effective that our community invests in, public and private.
I know on many of your projects, you don't do it alone. You have partnerships, and your website talks about establishing public and private partnerships. How important is that in your thinking about an effective result from your efforts?
It's crucial, the value of partnership with the public sector and also with other private parties, really across a lot of dimensions and for a lot of reasons. Number one, a lot of the ideas that we're pursuing in many places are actually kind of public sector responsibilities. Education, healthcare, a park, these in many places are obligations that the public sector takes on. We live in a community, in a culture where often the public sector looks to private sector for leadership. So we're willing to make that first investment, to make that risk. And we believe that where it's successful, that the public sector should come in and partner with us. So for instance, on our program to reduce the rate of female incarceration, we've been able to create a program through the leadership of Amy Santee and Mimi Tarash and others called Women in Recovery. Well, we invested in that program for 5-6 years. It costs about $25,000 per participant, but it saves about $100,000 per participant. We believe that the state of Oklahoma ought to reimburse that initial investment because it's realizing the savings. Well, with the leadership of Governor Fallon and the legislature, we actually have now a Pay for Success program. So a woman who participates in that program who stays out of jail for 4 years, the program, and we ultimately, in a way, are reimbursed those funds so we can invest it elsewhere. So these are public responsibilities in part. We believe that we can be good partners to the public sector by being accountable and bringing kind of a private sector approach to a public responsibility. So those are two important reasons. And plus, even in our Tulsa community, it's important that the projects we pursue are not just one foundation's projects, that they have a lot of buy-in and that we're all rowing in the same direction. I think that makes these initiatives stronger in the long term.
Just about a minute and a half left. Let's go back to the Gathering Place. Any idea on the annual benefit to Tulsa that's going to come from the tourism that comes in, or other opportunities for investment along the park's edges?
We are enormously hopeful that there's a significant economic return for the park. We haven't really penciled that out, but I think we'll probably have 2 million visits a year to the park in one kind or another. We've certainly seen an enormous amount of national enthusiasm for the project. The New York Times did a large feature. Publications around the world are looking at it. I didn't envision it at first as a major tourist draw, but I think actually it can be that.
Oh, I think it will be, Ken. I mean, this is going to be one of the handful of premier parks in the country. And there are park enthusiasts, as you know.
Yes.
They're not going to feel like their bucket list or they have a checklist is complete until they've come to see it.
Well, I would like to consult with you, Mayor Cordner, about how to achieve that goal, because I think you're right. And you think of the people who go to Crystal Bridges in Arkansas, or they're going to go to the Bombing Museum in Oklahoma City. Well, there's a circuit of fascinating experiences within a 100-mile radius that can be a great offering for families around America and the world. Route 66, etc.
Ken Levit is with the Kaiser Family Foundation. Thanks so much for all the foundation does and for coming on the show and telling us more
Ken.
about it.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Good to see you again.
Kent and I'll be right back with more after this.
Big Tobacco lied for decades about the adverse health effects of smoking. Legally, here's what tobacco companies are forced to say now. Here's what they're really saying. Get the truth behind the lies at StopsWithMe.com, a program of TSET.
All children deserve a life of hope and love. but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be Mom and Dad to me.
We are a very conservative family, and we believe in old-fashioned family values. We have a loving home there, and we love kids, and we have 5, 6 of our own. And but had no idea we were going to go into adoption, but it's been very gratifying.
You will always be Mom and Dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, wrapping up a show on the Kaiser Family Foundation. Ken Levit was our guest today. We have some website information for you to take a look at. It is gkff.org. That is, of course, the website of the Kaiser Family Foundation. And we have a website, too, theverdict.tv. Ken's just a wonderful guest. I know we've had him on 4 times, but every time he's reminding us of a moral obligation that we have to try and encourage and try to bring up to stage people who don't have all of the necessary ingredients for a good life when they're born.
Yeah, both Tulsa and the state are very fortunate to have as a resident George Kaiser and his views about helping others, and not just views about helping them, taking steps to do so that are very effective and brings benefits to all of our citizens.
Mm-hmm. And if you go to our website, we're going to give you an opportunity to not only talk about the show that we've just had on, but tell us about a guest that you'd like to see in a future edition of The Verdict. So just click on the little note there that says email, and you can email us an idea about a guest you'd like to see. That's going to do it for this week's show. For Kent Myers, I'm Mick Cornett. Thanks, Ken Levit, for joining us on this edition of The Verdict, and we hope you'll be with us next week when we have another guest and talk about the future of Oklahoma.